So my guest today, if you guys haven't already figured out, is producer extraordinaire, Mr. Kenny Beats,
Woo!
is coming out live and direct from the studio. You're in the studio right now, right?
Yeah, this is my room. This is where I do everything. All the key shit, all the Rico songs, Peggy, Shoreline, Greedo, Youngboy, whoever. Everything I do, I usually do in here, unless it's like a very specific situation.
Yeah. Okay. All right. So let me get into some of the questions that I had written up to sort of establish. I mean, it would seem, at least from the headlines and the press that you're getting and the people you're working with, you're a pretty in-demand hip-hop producer right now at the moment. But obviously, it didn't start out that way. For a while, you were known as being a part of the duo Loud Pack, which I believe was a duo at least at one point. Was it always a duo for the?
It was at the start, yeah.
Yeah. And obviously you were creating a different style of music sort of under that name, doing remixes and sort of diving a little bit more into the whole EDM thing. How exactly did you go about, or when did you decide to kind of make this artistic transition to kind of formally, I guess, sort of making music in more of a hip hop vein? And for you, technically, is it really all that much of a transition? Like, do you find yourself creatively just kind of doing a lot of the same things, but just kind of with a different aesthetic, given that you're kind of working in genres of music that sort of seem to be influencing each other in a lot of ways, and you're using a lot of the same equipment for one genre versus the other?
I mean, I feel like I've had two transitions, because when I was younger, when I was like just getting out of high school and into college, I was producing for a lot of people, and I had done Kendrick, I'd done Schoolboy Q, I had done Mac Miller, I had done Diddy, all this shit. But I didn't really have my business straight. And even though I was starting to get beats out, I had no concept of a lawyer, a business manager, a manager, anything. And me getting introduced into the whole like DJ thing, the dance thing, people just started showing me clips and songs from all this new like EDM rap influenced kind of shit. And as soon as I heard it, it was like kind of similar to what I was doing at the time, much more so than now, like what I'm doing compared to like the DJ world. I was doing all these beats, trying to send them to rappers and send them to TDE, and they were very like, had all these kind of weird synths and wobbles and shit with like trap drums. So people just naturally were like, you should try this DJ shit. And as soon as I did, I got a manager, I got an agent, I got flights booked, I had festivals to play. All this stuff started happening in music for me that had never happened being a rap producer as a younger kid. So being involved in that world was great from a business standpoint to learn a lot of stuff. But as a producer, like, those are the best producers in the world as far as I'm concerned. Like a lot of guys in the dance world who do ghost produce in a lot of pop shit and a lot of other areas, they're so technically savvy that even just being like a C-list EDM trap DJ or whatever, like you're going to pick up on so many tools and tricks and mixing advice and mastering advice, and just what they call the loudness war in DJ music is everyone's trying to make their song the loudest they possibly can. So when you play it out, it sounds that much bigger. And like, there's certain things I take away that I can apply, but it's more so like mentality than actual technical plugins or specific things that I did in EDM that I'm doing now in rap. Because I think when I came back to rap, the number one thing I was self-conscious about, especially doing all these little niche parts of the country and different bounce swags and different kinds of flows that are going on right now, I didn't want to step on any toes by doing something that wasn't authentic. So if I go try to make the music that's going on in Detroit right now or in Dallas or in Chicago, I want to make sure that those producers, those artists, all those ancillary people around the scene see what I'm doing, and that I'm trying to elevate it, but that I understand what's going on. And for me to understand the production, it took a lot of slowing down from that DJ shit and not over mixing things and over producing things and quantizing everything and da-da-da-da-da. And I really had to like specifically know when to let shit live, not dumb it down, but just let things be how they are instead of trying to clean everything up and put everything on this grid. And I think that's why people are always making these funny comparisons and shit about how does he, oh, he looks like this, because I'll interject myself into a specific sound and try to master it however I can, as authentic to what's going on there, and then just put more awareness on it.
Referencing prior to the whole Loud Pack thing, and basically this other transition that you made from being a hip hop producer and getting into the EDM world, you referenced kind of placing some beats with some pretty high level artists there, but we're talking about how I guess you weren't getting the traction that you wanted because your business shit wasn't together. What exactly, specifically does that mean? Were you not sort of advocating for yourself well enough? Did somebody need to be negotiating for you on your behalf? Like, could you have foreseen yourself getting bigger at that point in time if you knew that, what, were you being taken advantage of in a way or something?
I mean, it is very easy to get taken advantage of back then or now as a young guy doing rap music out here trying to work with your favorite artists. But I feel like back then it wasn't, I'd be remiss if I said, oh, I just didn't have good manager. I know what an agent was, and that's why my shit wasn't working. A lot of it was I was 19 years old. I would make 15, 20 beats over the course of who knows how long, and then I'd get a beat to a rapper. It would get on Nah Right and Two Dope Boys and Fake Shore Drive, and I'd be like, oh my God, I'm killing it. They'd hit me back. There was never a contract. There was never, my name was never on anything. It was just like, the song got out. Oh my God, that's my beat. They would hit me back, and I just had no wherewithal for what to do. You know what I mean? Or who to call, or the fact that a lawyer, you don't need to pay them $1,000 or $10,000 or whatever it is up front to look at a contract, all these different things. It's like the stuff I learned throughout the course of the DJ world basically was all like just bearings in the music business. And it's really hard for a 19-year-old kid who's in music school and already doing beats and already trying to find his way into these cliques just to get the music there, to once it gets there, know how to handle all that business and everything that comes with it. And even just the terminology is so scary at that age. I was a music business major at Berkeley. Like, I was literally taking music business at the foremost like contemporary music school, and I'm getting contracts that I'm signing for $1,200 in all of my publishing because I don't understand what's going on. So a lot of it was just being young. A lot of it was not working hard enough. I'd have these 15 beats. I'd get a beat off. They'd say, send me a pack. It's like, I have 10 other hot beats. Like, I remember being like, oh my God, I don't even have the stock. I'm not ready for this. So the getting out of that world and coming back to it now this year, that's why I'm so manic and I'm so OCD. And I'm here till 4 a.m. finishing a mix, and I'm back here at 11 a.m. talking to you, and I've already been mixing some shit this morning. It's like, I want to make sure that I never am stumped. I'm never without a certain type of beat or a certain type of song or not working on something. It's a da-da-da-da. Because when I was a kid, the work was so few and far between, like it is for a lot of producers. You eat what you kill. And these days, I've decided to just not leave any room for excuses on my end. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. And, you know, the situation that you found yourself in at that point, I mean, we hear a lot of stories throughout the industry of even pretty well-known producers like not being paid all that well or not getting the credit that they need or ghost producing or something like that. Like, how prevalent of a situation exactly is that you found yourself in? Are there just like countless kids out here that are just like getting ripped off for their beats and like we're never going to hear about them or never know who the hell they are?
Extremely. All the time, everywhere, every age group. There's guys with platinum plaques who are doing songs on SoundCloud rappers tapes right now and can't reach anybody. You know what I mean? It's like there's all types of levels of that. And that's what I started seeing as I came back to doing rap production. Was I was getting in with producers first. So I was getting in with like a bunch of people on eardrummers. I was with Jay Graham. I was getting in with TDE producers who remembered me from when I was younger. I was getting in with anybody I could from a production standpoint. Big Head. Like all these different people just to see what they were doing and how it was working and da-da-da-da. But throughout that, I would learn, oh my God, they're getting like this producer so-and-so is getting calls from this big rapper every day and having all of these sessions lined up and all this different shit. But you start to realize people got to pay bills. So a lot of kids are doing shit to pay bills. And it's like, do I know producers who have done Nicki Minaj records who could probably produce like the hardest thing coming out of Oakland right now? But that shit coming out of Oakland's not going to pay their rent for the next 6 months, so they need a Nicki Minaj placement. You know what I mean? So it's a lot of kids out here who are extremely talented, but they're not fortunate to where they can just sit and spend every single day working on something that they feel is going to be really hot or really important. It's way more about like what's going to pay my rent this month. And so who they produce for, all these other things are dictated by that. Where when I came back to this world, I got this studio, which I rent for a little over $1,000 a month. And I literally was just like, okay, I'm going to never let that dictate. My bad.
Yeah. That's cool. That's cool.
I will never let a check or my financial status dictate what I'm working on as far as this rap stuff goes. If I have to go pay my bills working at a label or doing this other shit or whatever, the music I'm making is going to be the music I want to play with my friends in the car. It's the music that's going to impress my homies. You know what I mean? The people around me who I really care about their opinion. And like, people aren't able to do that. And I understand that. And so when I give a piece of advice about how I work with the artists I work with, or building up someone with no budget, or any of these kinds of things, I always account for that. You got to pay bills. And there's a lot of different ways. If you're paying bills doing beats for people, you're already killing it. You know what I'm saying? It's like, you could be working a normal job while you wait for the music shit to happen. So it's not like the worst of all things, but I do think I've had a different trajectory this year because I've been able to spend my time focusing on what I truly believe in, regardless of if it's making me any money.
And do you feel like that's a unique position that you found yourself in to be doing that? Or is that something that if a producer wants to do that, that's like a conscious effort, a conscious choice that they have to make?
I definitely think it's a rare position because you don't see a lot of other people doing it. You know what I mean? Like, even the people who have produced the volume of shit I've produced so far this year, or in total, like, I put out like 80 or 90 songs, or I think it's like 80 songs up to this point this year, and I've got another like 30 coming before the year's over. You know what I mean? Like, think about how many songs I had to make to get to those songs. Like, that you might get one good song out of 6 with a certain artist. You know what I'm saying? It's like,
sure.
And to get those 6 beats, they probably had to pick out of 100 beats just to pick the ones they wanted. It's like, I'm literally just making sure that I'm moving so rapidly with so many different kinds of people that I'm all so passionate at the same time that it puts you in a position where, yeah, it's cool and you have a lot of placements coming out and this and that, but I'm mixing these records, unless Alex Toomey is doing it for me. I'm literally producing everything.
Shout out to Alex Toomey.
Shout out Alex Toomey, the GOAT. I'm doing all these jobs at once, and so on any given day, any of those 80 songs I put out this year, someone could hit me up for a clean version or an acapella for a show or blah, blah, blah. And it's like, it's a lot to have in your head. So a lot of producers don't want to take the hit to not make money for a while and have twice as much work for 9 months from now, people to start saying, oh my God, look what you're doing. Because they've got real life. And I understand that. But when I came back to this, I just wanted to move differently because I was a young kid and I got a beat to Kendrick when I was 19, 20 years old. You know what I mean? And I saw that that doesn't do shit for your name. It's great. That's a great thing to have on your fucking resume. But at the same time, like, I want people to not think of me as someone who has an agenda for what their beats sound like or what they look like or the type of records they do. I want people to look at me as like an audiophile who just dives into all this different shit that he loves and works his hardest to bring more people context to what's going on in that little moment of time with that artist, you know?
Yeah, to go off of everything that you just said, it's definitely reflected in the roster of artists today that you're known for working for, because there's such an incredible amount of, I guess, versatility and variety to not only the instrumentals that you provide, but also just, again, the people who you're working with, and talking about how, oh, I'm not working with anybody I don't want to work with, or I'm choosing to work with these people. You're talking about, you know, Young Boy, and you're talking about Rico Nasty, and you're talking about Comethazine, and you're talking about JPEG Mafia. And all of these people artistically are coming from such different headspaces as far as like the current, you know, hip hop meta. So I guess the question is, given that you have this freedom, what exactly goes into your decision to work with artist A, B, or C? Because, I mean, you're kind of, you know, allowing yourself this ability to just kind of pick and choose from anywhere. I mean, and really kind of do anything. I mean, if you were like this guy who only worked with this roster of like old school, over the hill, like boom bap rappers, you know, and you had a particular style that you only made this type of beat, like, you know, sure, we could probably pigeonhole you and say, well, that's the guy who makes those kind of beats for those kind of rappers. But, you know, you're all over the place, and without like kind of a guiding rod to tell you what exactly you're going to be waking up and doing that day, or who you're going to be working with that day, like what drives you to a certain sound or a certain artist?
I mean, I know you understand this. It's just like, I could hear something today from this part of the country that sounds really aggressive, and it's really, really like rough and tumble and harsh and da-da-da-da, and I might hear 40 seconds of it and go, just get me in the room with this kid, please. Like, I don't care if we end up smoking and just talking, like, just get me in the room with this kid. I want to hear his music. I want to hear more. I want to talk to him about it. Maybe I can help. Maybe I can just give him some drum sounds or some shit. And then the next day I might hear a pop act with the most overproduced Julia Lewis string section or whatever the fuck, you know what I mean? And just be like, God, that's beautiful. Like, I want to play that for girls I know. How can I get a hand in this? Like, how can I touch this? Da, 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 da. But I like so much shit. You know what I mean? I like so many different kinds of music and so many different things that I never say, like, okay, right now I'm doing O3 Greedo and Vince Staples and Shoreline Mafia shit, and I'm working with Dom Kennedy, and I'm working with Oakland, like All Black from Oakland. I'm doing all this California shit, right? Like, why can't I go to the DMV the next day and do Peggy or Rico or Q the Fool or Black Fortune or da-da-da, and then why can't I go to Dallas the next day and fuck with Splurge and 10K and Maxo and all this different shit? Like, I just don't see a border. I don't see a line between them where it's like, oh man, I'm moving over to this whole world and da-da, because if I was pushing a certain kind of beat or I was pushing a certain sound, maybe I would feel like that, because it's like, man, how do I adapt this artist to this now and then this artist? But I sit down with everybody, whether I've worked with them 1,000 times or it's the first day I'm meeting them, and all I say is, what do you want? Like, I'm like a barber. What do you want? Literally. And we go from there. And so, like, if I have it, I might have it. If not, trust me, I'm going to make it, and you're not going to stump me. So it's like, you could ask me for techno, you could ask me for country, you could ask me for polka, you could ask me for heavy metal, you could ask me for this kind of rapper, this kind of rapper, this kind of boom bap shitter. We're just going to do it. And I just am so excited to be in this room with this artist, regardless of who they are. Like, I'm excited if I'm around a Young Boy or a Thug, obviously, because I've been fans of them, but like, I'm just as excited to be around Black Fortune and like kids who are just now coming up. And when I talk about I don't send beats, I truly don't. I don't email beats. I don't send beats. If the biggest artist with the biggest social media hits me up, hey bro, we got to work. Even someone I'm a fan of, I got to be there, bro. Like, and it's not because I want to be your buddy and I want to talk to you and da-da-da-da, and I need clout points. I don't take no pictures in these sessions. Like, I don't give a shit about any of that. Some artists are so tough, I don't even have long-standing conversations with them about changes I want to make on the song, but I'm going to talk to the engineer. And trust me, like, being in the room, I'm going to know what you want that day, much more so than if I sent 5 beats in a pack. And I work with so many different personalities, and they lead me to more shit. So my only guiding light is like people I really trust and people I really, you know what I mean, like their opinion, giving me shit that they think is cool. And it started with just my best friends. It was just the people around me being like, oh, you heard Pablo Juan? And then how can I get with Pablo Juan? And then me and Pablo Juan did a whole tape. You know what I mean? And then for the first time in years, since I was way younger, all of my friends are bumping my music in their car. People are hitting me up. Hey, bro, that Pablo shit go crazy. Like, I hadn't had that feeling in so long. So the only thing that guides me to who I'm going to work with or when or how is just how excited I am on the music and when did I hear it. And like last week, for example, like I did a whole project with All Black out of Oakland. It just dropped like a week ago. It's the most California-centric thing I've done, even more so than the Vince project, because it is so Oakland and so Bay Area. And it is all very much like what Black was doing, but with my vocal production style and all this different shit. And all he listens to is Detroit music. He's from Oakland. He's from the Bay. He's one of the most known artists coming up out there right now, but he only listens to Drago and Bino and GT and Sada Baby and Cash Kid and all this super hot shit out of Detroit. So I started listening to Detroit shit. Then I start hitting Drago up. Then I start talking to Cash Kid. And it's like artists now are who are putting me on to artists. Some kids like Rico Nasty and Q the Fool are obsessed with this kid Black Fortune from DMV, and like everybody hits me about Rico Nasty. Oh, how can I get in with Rico? Huge rappers. Like, can me and Rico get on the phone? All this shit. I'm like, I'm not her manager, first of all. I don't know why people hit me, but everyone will hit me about her, and she never cares. She's in her own lane, her own world. She's much more worried about her makeup that she's going to do for this next fit pick than she is about some big rapper wanting to do a song with her. She doesn't care about that. She's in her own lane. She's hitting me up like, you're with Black Fortune? He's so fire. Like, da-da-da-da. It's like, she was more psyched about this kid than I've ever seen her about anyone hitting her up. You know what I mean? So when I see that, I'm like, Rico's going crazy about this kid. Like, And that happens all the time because people are always just talking about shit. So there's no lack of people I need to work with and want to work with. It's just figuring it out and making it happen.
Yeah. Wow. Damn. Just like really kind of laid all that out there. So, God, that was so much.
I'm sorry.
No, it just seems like you're just putting a lot on your shoulders artistically to sort of go out there, reach out to artists, cover a lot of sounds. I mean, I know that you're not you know, the youngest guy. I mean, you were talking about how in a younger portion of your career, you know, you were getting, you know, ripped off and not
I'm
given the,
27 years old. I'm almost
yeah.
dead.
You know, you're 27 years old. Hopefully you make it past that 27-year-old hump, which is a bit of a meme. I mean, you're not, you're younger than me, but I know that you're old enough to remember a time where the kind of versatility in listening in musical palette is not as wide as it is today. And like you were talking about how you have these artists from California and they're just listening to artists from Detroit. Like can you speak to, in your opinion, how the internet has just like completely busted down these regional doors, and not just in hip hop, but just in music in general? I mean, not only are artists like and music fans listening to musicians who are totally outside of their regional area, who are not necessarily mainstream, but on top of it, you have kids out there these days who, you know, they're not just listening to rock. They're not just listening to hip hop. They're not just listening to electronic music. I mean, I know when I was older, it wasn't even just so much about that as it was like, if you listen to rock, chances are you listen to pop punk and that's all you fucking listen to. Yeah. You know what I mean? Whereas like these days you have rock fans who, yeah, sure, rock is seen as like kind of being on the downturn, but still, like when I meet most rock fans today, a lot of them know and listen to a little bit of Blink-182. They listen to some, you know, like that new band Greta Van Fleet or some kind of classic rock bands. They listen to a little bit of Cannibal Corpse or some death metal or something. You know, they're listening to stuff all across the spectrum. And it seems like the situation you found yourself in could have only been kind of created in this internet age where everybody's really just kind of listening to everything. And there's, you know, the internet has really just kind of broken every kind of insular and cultural barrier down. And yes, obviously you're benefiting off of that in a way, but you know, as a music fan, can you say like on the whole, is that a good thing? You know, do you think that's like a net positive?
I will say it is overall. On the whole, like I'm very happy that a kid from the middle of nowhere who's only ever been around a certain kind of music making or recording style or whatever it is, here's something that he really likes from a polar opposite part of the country just because his homie sent him a link. You know what I mean? That's dope because it's going to open him up and make him realize what's possible with his music or where he can go with it or the type of production he can get. I do love the fact that everything is so broken down and accessible, but my favorite shit are always like the kids who listen to only themselves and only do what they do in their one little sect of the country where everyone around them gets it. But as a whole, more people might not understand what's going on there without some context. Like that is what really interests me. Like when I find a kid like kids like Splurge and 10K, you know what I mean? They're in Dallas. Like 10K obviously got popular doing the videos and shit, but he makes a lot of music now. And like Splurge been making music for a while. They're 17-year-old kids. They're making these songs with literally just the hardest drums. Shout out Beats by Jeff and 6-7 and Who on the Track. But all these kids literally are making the simplest, hardest songs with just no melodies, big ass 808s, and just no hooks, just punching in the hardest songs. And these dance videos are coming out and they're blowing up and da-da-da. And when you're around these kids and you play them shit from almost anywhere else in the country that's going on right now, like they're like, yeah, that's cool. They might fuck with someone person, like, oh, he's a cool dude, blah blah blah. But like, they only fuck with their sound. You know what I mean? Like what they're doing is what they like. Same the shit I was just talking about with Oakland and Detroit. It's not a specific tempo, but it's a sound, and that's the shit I like am drawn towards so much because I feel like whenever someone's in that epicenter, when they're born and bred into like a certain style or genre, like they're the ones who can really educate me to it and help them do whatever they want to do with their music, but at the same time do it from a place where I'm actually understanding what's going on, not just listening for myself and making up my version of what they do. But the biggest tool I use is taking a kid like that or an artist like that who is literally like so not stuck, but just in their own way with this kind of sound they're doing, and then show them some shit I did 2 nights ago. Like I literally play JPEG Mafia for Shoreline Mafia and vice versa, you know, which makes no sense. Like I'll literally play Cue the Fool for Rex Life Raj. You know what I'm saying? Like I'm always trying to do that just because selfishly it shows my range. And a kid can hear a beat I did that's polar opposite to what we've been talking about for the last hour, and they go, oh, you could do that? I want to do that. And that happens sometimes, but it's really more about like showing certain people, like if I can get across to this sound and this artist and this kind of shit, trust me, we're gonna figure out your shit. Because a lot of people are fans of people. And if some kid from Texas goes, oh my God, you work with Maxo? I'm gonna go, boom, bet you never heard a Maxo song like this. And then he hears it, he goes, Maxo got on that beat? And then the beats that we were gonna do were this big when he got in the studio. And now there's this many types of beats we can do. And it's really just because I can do that, show someone from a completely different side of the country and internet to someone over here and say, this shit's hard though. It kind of reminds me of similar things that goes on in your music. And kids go, shit is hard. Like that, and you see this breakdown. Like that to me it's paramount in my sessions. You know what I mean? Like obviously I want to flex and I want to play some new shit I've been working on that's super hard. But if me playing a Ski Mask song in front of Key or Rico or Freddie Gibbs or someone can change the palette of what I'm doing with them, I really feel like that's something that the access of the internet allows me to do. You know what I'm saying? That producers years and years ago couldn't. And it's either you're doing that one type of song you're doing with that artist that day or nothing. And now one little conversation can inspire this whole new range of shit. With someone like Rico, like she could fuck around and watch a Death Grips video and change her whole sound in one day, and it could turn into this new thing. You got to be prepared for that.
Let me throw a few more at you before we head out.
Okay.
You seem like, as everything that you've said so far, you seem like a really like busy guy. Maybe the internet's busiest music producer.
Wow. Can I say that? I don't even want to say.
You know, rip this out of the conversation, and it's your watermark. You know, it's yours. It's yours. And this saturation that the music world is sort of filled up with right now, and this grind and this constant output that you need to be put on, I think is also something a little unique to the internet age. Personally, how do you feel like you are kind of holding up in the midst of that? You know, in a musical landscape where, you know, you have artists like the Migos who are working on songs like 25 minutes at a time and just like busting them out onto a 90-minute record. You know, it seems like the name of the game today is just put out as much stuff as possible. How do you struggle personally with just maintaining the energy level to do it all and simultaneously keep up the quality level of what you're doing so that you're not just like kind of falling into a pattern where you're just kind of washing, rinsing, and repeating and just putting in, you know, as little effort as you can just to like put out song A, B, and C in the limited amount of time that you have?
The only thing that is daunting to me is the quality control. Like the workload and the amount of songs and this and that is never enough. Like it sounds busy and I sound manic and all this kind of shit right now. Like I'm at like 54%. I'm at like maybe 60% right now.
You're not even at 100% right now.
This is my year back. Like this was my year to illustrate to people like what I'm trying to really do with my life and my career and my musical legacy and all this shit. I've been doing music for a long time. It wasn't until 25, 26 that I was like, okay, you think you're great in your head. Like it's time to fucking show people. Like it's time to really put in as many hours as you can put in a day for as many days as you can in a row and see if that adds up to anything. And so for me, it's just about like making sure, yeah, there's personal aspects to it when you start working 14 hours a day, literally more than that sometimes, that start to get important. Like just being able to have relationships and being able to go see people and do normal shit once in a while every month and do your fucking laundry. And I'm in this room so much more than my apartment. It's not even comparable. You know what I'm saying? Like I'm in the studio 10 times more than I am home. But I do have a relationship and I do cook and I do fly my family out to see me and I do all these things because like the 2 days I take off every once in a while kill me and I'm anxiety ridden the whole time because I'm like, oh, but I gotta do this Cue the Fool tape and then this Key shit is dropping and then we get the Skepta record and then and it's like it's always going. But I've made sure, thank God to the people around me, my manager Mike and like other people I'm close with, just being like, dog, you had 4 songs dropping the same day last Friday. Like you could just cook this Sunday and hang out. You know what I mean? It's hard for me to do that sometimes because I'm so addicted to it and I've wanted this forever. Like I was a kid and I definitely saw it in a different way, but it's like rap music is really the only thing I've ever really wanted to do. You know, I'm 6'7". My dad played NCAA. Everyone in my life wanted me to play basketball and do all this different shit. But like I played guitar, I played drums, I went to music school, I did all this shit. And throughout everything I did in my life, rap was the only thing that could ever get me to really like lose my shit around my friends, and I ever really cared about doing all the research and diving into of any topic in my life, really. And so now that I'm doing it, it's like I want to make a stand every single time I step into a room with an artist, or I step into a meeting about the music I'm doing or anything. I just think about, what did I do when I was a kid? What is everybody else around me doing? And how can I make sure that this doesn't have an expiration stamp on it? And that's why I don't want a Kenny Beats album. That's why when I do my shows, I don't want the shit to look like Kenny Beats Live. Like, all that shit to me is lame. I don't want to put the biggest artists I fuck with on a song and then put it out as a front-facing Kenny Beats thing with me on the cover. Like, I don't fuck with that. You'll see me producing a whole project for an artist. You'll see me behind the scenes doing 10 beats on a project, or doing all this other shit. But like, I want something to live that's bigger than me. I want to bring, like, Cole Bennett can walk around in fucking slides all day and pink shorts, because Lyrical Lemonade lives on its own, and it's its own thing that people can respect and go to and care about without worrying if he has a chain on or what he looks like or his personal sentiment is. I want to build something bigger than Kenny Beats. You know what I mean? And right now I got to get my name out and I need my credit and all that. But at the end of the day, like, I'm trying to build something to where what I did this year is going on times 1,000 for all the new artists I'm excited about till I die. And the amount of work's only going to double, triple, and get way more than that. Finding people to trust is the hardest part. It's not taking on more work. I'm fucking ready.
Just as a couple of last quick listicles, could you throw at me maybe some names of people who you would love to work with? Just kind of maybe throw that out there into the world. Maybe it'll come at you.
Two that I just really am dying to work with, and one is PB Longway, and two is Valet. Those are the two artists I feel like if I can get in the room with them a couple times, we can make this third thing that none of us have ever made before. I really, truly believe that.
And just to throw a few more names out there, can you tell me and the audience here just a few producers who coming up listening to when you were younger that you loved and just kind of left an impact on you and kind of just made you want to do this? Because I mean, as a music fan, you know, I know that, you know, you hear musicians or artists or rappers or whatever do certain things and it just blows you away to the point where, wow, I want to do that. I want to recreate that. I want to try and see if I can make something as good as that.
I think about, obviously, Timbo. I always think about Neptunes. The Runners were a big, big impact on me. Like, it was a lot of really commercial rap shit, but I just really thought their production at the time was a level above. Same with Justice League. Justice League inspired me with possibilities of what you can do on a rap song. You can bring a full orchestra in, and it still makes sense for Rick Ross and T-Pain. Like, I think about DJ Khalil a lot and No ID, because they were some of the first dudes I ever saw bringing in, like, basically chopping samples and then having someone replay the chopped sample and then that being the beat. That still is something I do a lot in my production. I have a lot of players and live instruments and shit. But, I mean, it's hard because I like so many different styles. I want to name 5 producers from so many different sects, but really,
it's fine. So I'm not asking you for a top 5 or anything. You know.
Yeah, I'd say like Dilla Timbo, Pharrell, Khalil, Bangladesh.
Now, listen, when you say top 5, everybody draws a blank. But if you just ask for a general list, like usually the ones that end up just kind of rising to the top of your head are usually the ones.
I get really upset that when people ask me about producers I like now, I always forget my new favorite producers, and I always want to be able to like, put them.
This is not a diss. You're not forgetting anybody.
Okay.
You know, just because they're on the top of my head, because I was looking up a lot of his stuff yesterday just for nostalgia purposes. Do you have an opinion on Scott Storch?
I met him recently. I went to his house.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I went. We made some shit. I met Alchemist last night for the first time, and we were actually just talking about like what a genius Scott Storch is, and like what you got to understand from a musical standpoint, let alone his track record or his career or him as a person or anything. Just sitting there with him as a musician, and trust me, from going to Berkeley and doing other shit, I've been around a lot of unbelievable jazz musicians. Scott has no classical training, does not read music, and you can play him the most straight Fisher-Price drum loop with no swing on it, with no bounce to it, with no cool patterns, and he knows how to sit ahead or behind the beat when he plays to make sure anything that you're playing feels real bouncy and swaggy and da-da-da-da. And like, you don't have to give him these drums that kind of sit in the pocket and feel really fire. He does it for you. And he knows how to make up for what you're lacking with his playing, basically. And like seeing him basically just like putting a kick and a snare on for this dude and seeing him make hits in front of you, it's like, it goes to show that like the level of production that we're used to being around when you walk into a studio with a kid who's got a couple platinum records these days, kids are fucking beat makers. He's a real producer. You know what I mean? And I love being around that shit. Being around Alchemist last night for me was like, I couldn't believe I was there half the time because I've seen this dude really produce some of the most legendary hip hop shit ever. You know, what can I say about us?
Absolutely. And the reason that hit me was because yesterday I was just listening to the new 69 project and Scott's track on it. And I just heard his watermark at the front of the song. I'm like, what the fuck? Scott Storch is on this thing? And it was one of the better beats on the project. And then I was like, man.
He played it the day I met him. And like, I walked in the crib and like, he's yelling across the house, like, we got the 6ix9ine cut. And I'm like, oh shit.
That's awesome. Because, you know, again, I was just like, it had been a while since I had thought of him. And I was just like, you know, and then I just had to like go back through all the Bling era hits that I remember so vividly from college.
I think that Scott Storch documentary was preemptive. I think there is going to be a run. I truly believe, like, if he starts to get people in his corner who are really pointing out or just making him more aware of, like, the kind of artist that he would fit with the best, not just the best artist out that he could obviously kill it for, I think there could be something special. I want to hear, like, Scott Storch SZA. That's what I'm talking about.
Yeah, that could be really good. And, you know, like you said, there are a lot of producers out there, and they do have those platinum plaques, and they're beat makers, but it's rare that you do have a Scott Storch around in the studio who not only is, like, as you said, the dude just literally taught himself from the ground up just by emulating other songs and just learning piano.
Which is impossible. Like, on guitar, you can learn how to play something in the key of A, and you can probably move that shape to any other key of any other song and be able to play that same little thing you learned. On drums, you can pretty much fucking hear it, what you're trying to get across. For someone to be able to play this beautiful chord change that they might have memorized or whatever on piano, and then you go, oh, now let's do the beat in this key. And then they can move that chord change. Like, that means your ear is virtuoso level. That means you really have an unbelievable musical ability, because people are taught years and years and years and years and years of theory, and that still takes them 10, 15 minutes to work it out. You know? It's crazy.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's just rare that you're seeing that level of talent in a lot of production credits these days. You know, because the fact that not only is he a producer, but he just has this incredible prowess on a particular instrument, and it so clearly maps out into everything that he does in his beats. Yeah. You know, because the melodies, the chord changes, the just really the keys that turn up in all of his beats, like, they just sound so specific to him, and that's not like really kind of a nuance and a specificity that's showing up in anybody else's instrumentals.
Totally. I would love to see him almost go the route of like a Q Beats and just make 200 or 300 samples, you know what I mean? Sample sounding pieces of music and send them out to the Cardos, the Murdas, all the biggest dudes, you know what I mean? I guarantee so many hits would come back that way. But he's doing everything from ground up, start to finish, by himself at his spot. You know, he's not taking any easy way out. It's like there's a mafia of different kids in Eastern Europe right now making the coolest piano loops with flute samples and making them sound sampled and da-da-da, and sending these big packs to all your favorite producers. It's like there's a lot of unbelievable musicality going on right now for sure. You're just not seeing those faces. You know, you're seeing the kid who put the drums on those faces.
Yeah, which is another kind of weird growing leg of the industry right now, which I read an article about on Complex, where you just have these people making these like weird, airy, kind of out of the way little instrumental bits that are just meant to be lifted and just thrown onto some trap drums.
Or at the same time, though, you're like, those dudes are also making like the coolest melodies. You know what I'm saying? Like when you hear like a Portland on a Drake album, or you hear like Roll in Peace with Kodak, or you hear like these weird morphed horns and shit, it's no longer like, damn, I wonder what that sample is. It's like, damn, I wonder who that German kid is.
Yeah.
That's literally what it is now.
All right, man. I want to thank you for coming on and talking with me. This has been a great conversation. We could probably go on all day about all of it, but
can you save this, Anthony, so I could post it? Can you save it?
Yeah, I'm gonna save it. I'm gonna put it on YouTube.
Oh, okay, tight. I didn't know if it was going up or not.
Yeah, I'm gonna put this on YouTube. Hell yes. This isn't just gonna disappear into the fucking Instagram fucking toilet wormhole.
All right, well, this is music's busiest producer signing off. Wait, what is the internet's busiest music producer? There it is.
There you go. There you go. All right, have a good one, man.
Thanks, bro. You too.
Bye. All right. Good talk. Good talk. Good conversation. Thank you very much to Kenny for coming on. That was great. Yeah, we'll definitely be doing some more interviews over Instagram, and next time I will specify that the person who I'm interviewing should come onto my Instagram. So it starts a little more smoothly. But yeah, thank you all very much for watching. Again, this is probably going to get uploaded to the Fantano channel, so you can find it being repurposed over there. So yeah, you guys are good. Love you, love you, love you. You're the best, you're the best, you're the best, best, best forever.